Indiana Jones and the Temple of Peril is a roller coaster at Disneyland Paris. This ride is unique to the Paris resort, and it's definitely a different type of roller coaster than what you'd expect from Disney. This is a thrill coaster with an off-the-shelf layout, but it is dressed up at least around a temple. However, this may be the roughest roller coaster at any Disney park. But is it too rough to be enjoyable? I'll discuss that in this review. Euro Disneyland opened back in 1992. While the park was undeniably beautiful, it had some financial difficulties at the start. This led to budget cuts and the planned expansions. The resort was originally supposed to have a Grand Land themed Indiana Jones. The area was rumored to have 3 different attractions: an Indiana Jones EMV ride like the one in California, a boat ride in the vein of Jungle Cruise, and a minecart themed roller coaster. The latter was to be designed after the famous minecart chase sequence in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. It would have taken guests through an enclosed temple and then an adjacent jungle. However, the resort's monetary issues led to the Indiana Jones area becoming a single attraction in the pre-existing Adventureland. Realizing the resort lacked a major thrill coaster, they greenlit the minecart coaster, but it was significantly simplified from the original plans. Pinfari was an Italian manufacturer who built smaller rides targeted towards carnivals and small theme parks. They rose to prominence with their Zyklon coasters, which featured sharp drops and helixes. Then in the 1980s, they developed the TL-59 coaster. This was a modified Zyklon featuring a vertical loop. Wanting a budget-friendly option, Disney asked Intamin to copy the TL-59 layout, and this would be many firsts for Disney. 1. It would be the first Disney coaster to feature an inversion. 2. It would have and still has the highest height restriction ever for any Disney ride. Guests must be at least 55 inches tall to experience this ride. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Peril opened in the summer of 1993, but it has undergone a series of changes since its inception. The biggest changes occurred in 2000. The ride's capacity was increased by 50%. A third row was added to each car. But more notably, the ride was modified to run backwards. To accommodate this, a few elements had to be reprofiled to make them less intense, and the lighting and props were reversed for the new direction of travel. I never experienced Indiana Jones like this, but I imagine it would have been a rather unpleasant experience. As I alluded to at the start, this ride is not smooth, and by taking the course backwards, you couldn't properly brace yourself for the directional changes. After numerous complaints, the ride was switched back to forward travel by the end of 2004, and has run like this ever since. But it did get a major refurbishment in 2014. The ride's control system was upgraded, and the vertical loop was interestingly retracked, but not by Intamin. Rather, this was done by Vekoma. Fans hoped more track would be replaced as well, but it was not. This would have significantly improved the on-ride experience. Just look at Raging Spirits at Tokyo Disney Sea. That ride opened in 2005, and it's another Intamin looper with a nearly identical layout. It originally had some comfort issues like Indiana Jones, but it underwent a series of changes after opening to make the experience more tolerable. The most extensive changes consisted of a nearly full track replacement after less than 1 decade of operation. I rode this coaster in 2018, and it was very smooth. Part of the reason Raging Spirits is more comfortable is also because there's a series of trims before the turns. Indiana Jones does not have these, so the ride runs full tilt through the layout, yielding a more intense ride experience. The ride's temple was also rebuilt entirely as part of the 2014 refurbishment. This was originally constructed with styrofoam blocks as a cost-cutting measure, but it was completely rebuilt with stone to improve its durability, longevity, and authenticity, and it really does look fantastic. You have these stone statues, then the colossal ruins have a lot of detailing and engravings. This also conceals much of the layout both on and off ride. That aforementioned vertical loop is only visible from one angle towards the end of the queue line. That is it. So I imagine many people ride this without realizing it takes you upside down. The queue line has great theming as well. The first part takes you through the jungle. It is themed to an archaeological site as you pass some artifacts and camping supplies. The second part of the queue line has you climbing up the stone temple, giving you a closer look at both the stonework and some coaster elements. And in my experience, you will not have to wait long for this ride. Usually, it's just a 15-minute wait maximum. The line can spike in the mid-afternoon to about a half hour, but it's almost always a walk-on for the first few hours of the day and for much of the evening. I think the main reason for this is that many kids are simply too short to ride it, and many adults who can do not want to re-ride it. But if you do want to ride midday, there are two options for faster boarding. First, you have a single rider line. You'll have no choice of seat, but you'll likely board in under 5 minutes. Second, you have the park's paid skip-the-line system. Premier Access Ultimate allows you to bypass the wait for all eligible rides at the resort once per day. You can enter the queue anytime you'd like. This will cost you 100 to 200 euros per person per day, so it is a hefty cost. Alternatively, you can purchase Premier Access 1, which is a single pass for a specific ride. You book a 1-hour return window. Indiana Jones is usually one of the cheaper rides, and it often costs just 5 to 7 euros. When you reach the station, you are assigned a row. If you ask nicely, staff members will usually honor row requests. I think the front row offers the better experience. The airtime, visuals, and comfort are all better up there. The station allows for 2 trains to load and unload simultaneously. This helps maximize the ride's throughput because the trains are on the shorter side. Each train holds a maximum of 12 guests. You have 2 cars per train, each with 3 rows of 2. The ride typically operates with 4 to 5 trains. If 5 trains are in the course, the crew needs to work quickly. If the 2 trains are parked in the station and 2 are parked in the holding break, the 5th train will need to stop on a relatively flat brake run with no drive tires, meaning it can often get stuck. A cast member will then have to go out to push the train if this happens. The coaster used to operate with 6 trains, which further compounded this issue because the 6th train would stop even earlier in the layout. Riders sit in bulky trains, so unless you're in the front row, you don't have the best view. Everyone is secured by over-the-shoulder restraints. These are tall and hard, so they can cause headbanging for most riders unless you ride defensively. I strongly recommend leaning forwards to avoid bashing your head in the directional changes. I have to do this to have a pleasant ride. There is no other Disney coaster where I have to ride like this. And then, like most other rides at the resort, all bags and belongings must ride with you. But it is worth knowing you cannot have a camera out, even a mounted GoPro. Disney usually is one of the most lax filming policies of any chain, but this no filming policy was found on many of the Paris park's thrill rides. Once checked, you turn out of the station. You pass under some stonework, and also pass some supplies, en route to the lift hill. And this chain lift is very loud. The clickety-clack of the anti-rollbacks is deafening. Meanwhile, Raging Spirits uses a dual chain lift that is much quieter. Indiana Jones stands 59 feet or 18 meters tall. Once at the top, you have a slow turn around a temple. This leads into the first drop. It is a short but zippy drop. If you're in that back car, you'll get an okay pop of air here. You then rise upwards into a turnaround. The entry into this gives a decent burst of airtime for those up front. But beware the turn. You start to twist right at the apex, so you can get slammed sideways. This is why it's important to lean forwards. You then have a wide turn around the other end of the temple. The end of it passes through a mid-course brake run, but it won't slow you down at all. That's the case for all the mid-courses on this ride. Then you have another straight drop. It's not quite as punchy as the first, but those in back will still get a little lift here. You then jump upwards into another turnaround. You'll get some weak floater airtime in front, but the transition is the worst of the ride. It starts banking left before the apex, so the train noticeably jerks at the top. While leaning forwards mitigates most discomfort on the ride, there's not much you can do with this one. You then have another turn around the temple. Rather than going into a drop, you have a long, elevated straightaway, and if you look left, you can see the upcoming loop. After passing through another benign mid-course brake run, you have the largest drop in the ride. It is a twisting drop left. You have some incredible near misses at the bottom as you charge through some stone archways, but the train also has a noticeable shimmy on the pullout. Without any hesitation, you then charge through the vertical loop. This is a tightened version with very strong positive Gs. The forces are so strong that they'll try to fold you forwards like a Schwarzkopf loop. is easily the best part of the ride for me. You then rise upwards into another turnaround. The entry passes under a stone archway and also offers some airtime. It's a solid pop in front and just some faint lift in the back. Again, watch your head here as you bank right afterwards. You then have a 540-degree helix. It has okay positive Gs, but the best part about it is the abundance of close calls. You not only spiral around the temple, but you're enveloped by the ride's steel supports. You then jump upwards, getting an okay pop of airtime in the front car, and maybe a smidge of weightlessness in the back. After passing through another mid-course that does absolutely nothing, you have a banked right turn with a gradual downward slope. Then you have this elongated bunny hill, but unfortunately, it doesn't have any airtime like the preceding elements. You then have one last mild turn around the temple and slam into the final brakes. Two trains then return to the station together, ending the nearly 2,000 foot or 600 meter long coaster. I already touched on the smoothness, but what about the pacing? Indiana Jones does fine in this department. While the turns are fairly uneventful in terms of forces, the visuals and interaction with the temple keep your engagement level up. So what would I rate Indiana Jones? I would give this coaster a 5 out of 10. I enjoy this ride, but it is flawed. Unless you lean forwards, you can get quite a bit of headbanging on the turns. If you ride defensively, this ride can be fun. While the layout is pretty basic and feels like a budget coaster, the theming makes it feel grander. Then you have sharp dips and rises with some airtime, plus a very forceful vertical loop. While I will go on anytime I'm at the Disneyland Paris resort, I typically don't re-ride it like I do the other coasters. So those are my thoughts on Indiana Jones and the Temple of Peril. What are your thoughts about this coaster? Do you enjoy it? Or do you find it uncomfortable? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this review, I would appreciate it if you gave this video a like, and you considered subscribing, because there'll be a lot more roller coaster amusement park videos here at Canopy Coaster. Thanks for watching.